Hi, Harms Army. Welcome back. As you can see, we have Michael back in the studio. And we hope this episode gets as many hits as the last episode. So we'll see. Today we're going to wing it. We're just going to talk about really whatever comes to mind. I think human nature will be in there. And we talked about death. So,
yeah, I think we were talking about, we were talking about we were thinking about talking about human nature in general, and and that leads to thoughts of death.
Thoughts of death. So this would be a fun episode.
Whenever we think of ourselves as a species, it goes straight to mortality.
Straight to mortality, because that's what we do, along with
very uplifting.
Moss and fungi and worms and everything else. Everything dies. So yeah, we're gonna probably touch on those things as well. But first, wait, you're gonna see Mandalorian this Saturday?
Yeah, the plan is to see Mandalorian on Saturday with my son.
It's so good.
That's what I hear. Yeah,
it's really good.
It looks pretty action-packed, I would say.
I rewatched it. You've been rewatching them too. The first seasons 1 through 3, and the film's a standalone. It doesn't tie into the series really, but there are repeat characters, and like, oh, I know that guy. That guy's familiar. That pilot, X-wing pilot or whatever. But it is, the narrative, I guess, is standalone. But it's wow, so good. It's so good.
Pretty action-packed all the way through, you'd say. More so than the series, I think.
If I had a tiny criticism of the Mandalorian film, it is that, and it's not a big deal. I mean, I know what you're getting yourself into, but I would say it's almost too action-packed. Like, I wanted.
I'll take a breath.
There are quieter moments. There are quiet moments. No doubt there are. But I just think a few more would have been nice, because it's on.
It's hard to take all that in, right?
Like, there's a lot going on, and it gets pretty intense. And he beats the hell out of like 1,000 different people and aliens and stormtroopers. I don't know what stormtroopers make for a living.
Not enough.
But they don't get paid enough.
They don't seem to stick around very long. It's a very short career.
Their jobs.
Whenever the Mandalorian shows up, especially.
Their job seems to be to get shot.
Yeah.
And fall off tall things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or one gets used to bludgeon the other one or something. They don't really. They don't have a lot of longevity. You don't have a long career.
I wouldn't want that job.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't want to work for the Empire in either case, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to be a stormtrooper.
The Empire is evil. You don't want to.
Yeah, but as we discussed, the Republic. Okay, they're the good guys, so to speak. But as the Mandalorian series progresses, I started to think the Republic kind of sucks. Like, they were cool when they were the rebels.
Yeah.
The Rebel Alliance or whatever, but now that they're like an institution, they're establishment now, and they suck. So I don't know if I'd want to work for the Republic either.
They're bureaucratic, and they're not very efficient sometimes, and I guess, right?
Well, they're controlling too. It's like a corporation.
They're the ones exercising coercion now.
Right? Yeah, right.
But not in the evil way that the Empire was doing it. But
I'd go live on Navarro. That seems okay. The Apollo Creed is the mayor. Carl Weathers. He'll always be Apollo Creed to me. And I go live there, or I'd become a Mandalorian.
I think that would be cool.
But I want to be a Mandalorian that is able to take the damn helmet off.
They have those?
Yeah.
That's not the way.
He can't take his helmet off. Otherwise, he's got to go in the waters again and redeem himself.
Yeah, he has to purify himself.
But some Mandalorians can take their helmets off. Like, there's a whole group of Mandalorians at the end of the series that they can take their helmets off. They walk in both worlds.
I didn't know there was that category.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
They walk in both worlds.
And here I thought I knew a lot about Mandalorians, but apparently I'm missing.
No, I don't mean to say no as in you don't.
No, I don't. I didn't. So that's accurate.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. You idiot.
What are you even doing on this podcast? I thought you were a Mandalorian scholar.
Your bona fides are not in order here at all in any way.
You gotta get your bona fides in order. No, there are those Mandalorians who walk in both worlds, and they can take their helmets off. He can't take his helmet off.
Is Boba Fett a Mandalorian? His dad was a Mandalorian.
His father was a Mandalorian.
Is it inherited?
I don't know. I think
he wasn't because
he can take his helmet off.
He can walk in both worlds.
He can walk in both worlds. Yeah. Jango Fett, that was his father.
Jango Fett. Yeah.
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 So he can walk in both worlds. So Boba Fett can take his helmet off.
Okay.
But the Mandalorian, who got the pimp suit, that's a pretty good looking suit.
It's a good looking suit.
It's a good looking suit. Like you would want that one.
Paint's not chipped. There's not Bondo all over it.
Like some of the Mandalorian, like when you see those guys living in the cave, they're like the real deal. Then take their helmets off.
Yeah.
Some of those uniforms look pretty crap.
Yeah, they've seen better days.
They're like the colors are all mismatched, and I'm like, dude, you don't look badass. Mandalorian, he looks badass.
He's color coordinated.
That dude walks into a bar, you're like, okay, I'm not gonna mess with him.
Yeah, no,
he's gonna beat me to a pulp.
No way. Yeah, you can have my credits, my imperial credits.
Anyone who's wearing a suit like that, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's right. Buy that man a drink.
Buy that man a drink. Buy him two.
He needs a straw. He can't take his helmet.
All right. So we've talked about the Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
We got that out of the way.
I learned something new.
Can you reach my Mandalorian figure?
Yeah, I can.
Can you reach that?
Yeah.
I can't do it. I'm crippled. I'm not supposed to say that, but it just amuses me. Look at my Mandalorian figure. This is the way.
This is the way.
Look at that. Look how cool he is.
That's a pretty cool suit of armor.
Beskar?
Yeah.
Beskar.
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 Oh my God.
What?
I just mispronounced that. That's I just embarrassed myself.
I'm embarrassed to sit next to you. I'm embarrassed for you.
Beskar. What the hell?
Oh, what's that?
It's Beskar. Look how cool. I just want to show you guys so all my viewers at home they'll be impressed.
I think duly impressed with.
And just like that, you're impressed. Okay, you can put him just behind your books or whatever.
Right,
it doesn't matter. We'll put him in the right spot.
He can make sure we're.
All right. So I want to talk about something we hit on, and I thought it was interesting. And you don't even know what I'm about to say.
I have no idea where this is going. No.
We'd had a conversation, and we were talking about people who get philosophers wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just, Nietzsche gets butchered. Karl Marx is the first place. He gets blue ribbon first place for getting butchered. Hobbes, my guy, one of my guys, he gets butchered, like the Leviathan. All down the line. Adam Smith, we could put him on the list, certainly. There's a whole list of thinkers that get butchered because people don't read them, and then they just, repeat what they've heard, and what they've heard is nonsense, You pointed out, you said something that really gave me pause for thought. I really kind of sat in my head for a minute, or more than a minute. And that is, when these thinkers get misquoted and misinterpreted and mangled, it always presents humanity in a negative light.
What do you mean? Can you give me an example, or
There-
maybe give
Give
the listeners an example?
like there's
I think I know where you're
there's
going.
an agenda, like not an agenda. That's probably not the right word. There's a default misunderstanding of these thinkers. So yes, an example would work well here.
Maybe Hobbes? Would be a
I
good
was gonna, yeah, you beat me to it. I was gonna go right to Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes, the first major thinker to write in English, basically the founder of modern political theory. Many thinkers had written about politics before Hobbes, of course. You know, Plato wrote about Hobbes, or Plato wrote about politics. Aristotle wrote about politics. A lot of people wrote about politics. But Hobbes was the first one to, you know, he's kind of like the godfather of modern political theory. Like Descartes is the father of modern, or not godfather, but father of modern philosophy. And Cézanne is the father of modern painting. When you come across mention of Hobbes, what do you hear?
Life is nasty, brutish, and short.
Nasty, brutish, and short.
Yeah.
Now, he said that, no doubt.
He did say that, yeah.
He absolutely said that.
And that was cited, I remember, in my 100-level sociology textbook and my 100-level psychology textbook, and like it was mentioned in our Western Civ. Like that quote gets recycled in a lot of courses.
I did a podcast episode. I did a podcast interview, not this one, but I mean like an interview with a guy. Ramsey was his last name. I can't think of his first name now. Nice guy.
I remember him.
Remember him?
Yeah,
Ramsey. Yeah.
I was going to say Gordon Ramsay, but I don't think he was doing philosophy and political science.
It was not Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, you guys weren't talking about restaurants or anything.
I was talking about this very point. The nasty, brutish, and short nonsense, you know. And then my interviewer said, Greg, I'm not exaggerating. I've probably seen that in books and articles, and I probably bumped into it 50 times. And my response was, it's probably more than 50 times.
Yeah, if you've gone to college, high school, college, and graduate school, you run into that quote
And if you read about this
half
stuff,
a dozen times or more,
which I could tell Ramsey had, he's read, you know, he keeps current and reads a lot of books. I'm like, yeah, you bump into it all the time. See how popular I am? Yeah, it's more than 50. You know, I probably bumped into it over 100. He did say that, but that's not what he meant. He didn't say that, you know, human beings left to their own devices are going to tear each other limb from limb, you know.
But why would he say that life is nasty, brutish, and short? What's the context?
He said it could happen. Right?
And by default, that means human beings are nasty and not very...
So that...
Their natural level that they rise to is often selfish and... cruel and self-centered.
That's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the conclusion.
That's the takeaway, but Hobbes is saying, this is what he actually says. And I'm not saying this to sound smart. This is the house I live in, so I know it's chapter 13.
Yeah,
You've heard me say this before.
It's political science literature, which is what you're...
All the quotes that you're talking about came from chapter 13. They're all in there.
Right.
You know.
Paragraph 4, lower left-hand side.
And you've heard me mention chapter 13 before.
Yeah,
like
right,
I bump, you know, I say this stuff a lot. And, you know, students and so on. So it's in there. So just read chapter 13, which is like not even 3 pages long. It's like
It's like
nothing, you know.
In the world of chapters, it's
and my political philosophy classes, we read it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, there you go.
There it is. Yeah.
Now you just read what he wrote, and you know what the hell he was saying.
So what was he saying then?
So what was he saying? He said, okay, we're on the savannah. Okay, there's no laws. There's no religion. There's no economy.
Hunter-gatherers.
There's no nothing. It's just you and the rabbits and the nuts. That's it. Okay? So you're on your own, and there's no government, there's no military, there's no nothing. All right. So this is humanity in a state of nature. Okay? What Adam Smith calls the rude state. Okay. So I see you on the savannah. I see you off in the distance.
And we haven't met before.
No, I don't know you I don't know you from anything. I just see this person off in the distance. You got a sack of something in your hands. Let's say they're apples. Do I run over there and clobber you over the head with a rock and take your apples? I could.
You could.
I could do that.
Yeah.
No, nothing is stopping me from going over there, bashing you over the head with a rock, and taking your apples.
Yeah. There's no government. There's no police force.
No, there's nothing.
There's no jail.
There's nothing.
Court,
nothing
right?
stopping me.
Yeah.
You know. But maybe you're a really good fighter. Maybe you're like the Mandalorian.
Well, that's true anyway.
It's true anyway.
I'll take you out, man.
Take me out.
Take you out, Harms.
So I have to enter this into my calculations. I might go over there, try to take Michael's apples, but I might he might beat the hell out of me. That's not worth it.
I would.
So now I'm bleeding out of every facial orifice,
and there's no ambulances or hospitals,
and I don't have any apples.
Right. I have no apples, and I'm a pint short on blood.
Yeah, so
not great.
That's a pretty crap deal.
And there's a lion over there.
I'm bleeding, and I have no apples. That sucks. Okay,
and I can't run anymore because I just got the crap kicked out of me.
So I'm like, I'm probably just gonna not bother. I'm just gonna leave Michael alone. He can go on his merry way with his apples. If I can't find any apples, I'll go find something else. I'll go find some figs, or I'll go find some walnuts, or I'll find something,
that I don't have to take down another human.
That I don't have to go get into a fight over, because that's a pain. So
maybe there's a 7-Eleven around.
I run the risk of getting myself into serious trouble. So I'm probably going to leave you alone. You're probably going to leave me alone. And that is most of Hobbes' state of nature. I'm going to leave you alone, People just...
So humans kind of have a tendency, according to Hobbes, to mind their own business. And
just kind of ignore one another.
Do your thing.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they eventually form families and tribes and stuff. I mean, there's an evolution, But at the very beginning, I'm probably just going to ignore you. It's not worth it. But this is where things can get sticky. Is I can go get 5 friends. Now we can take your apples. You can't beat 5. You can't beat 6 of us up.
Right.
So I can go get 5 friends, but maybe
unless I'm a Mandalorian, and then I can take
you're a Mandalorian. Then
you might as well be stormtroopers.
Beat the hell out of all 6 of us. But you might be wary. You might go get 5 friends. Now it's 6 on 6. And now we have a state of warfare. And this is what Hobbes is talking about. Is life might become nasty, brutish, and short. It might become that. But it probably won't. So, to prevent this state of warfare, you and your 5 friends, me and my 5 friends duking it out over a sack of apples. We need something. We need a Leviathan. We need a government with guns, with power, with authority that says nobody takes Michael's apples. No one brings harm to Michael's person or property.
Right.
If anyone does, you're going to deal with us. And you don't want that.
Yeah.
That's what Hobbes wants to put in place, is something to prevent...
Kind of a referee or a kind of something or someone to appeal to in times of...
And something initially
trouble.
to be in, this is the word he uses, to be in awe of. They got so much power and so much authority
the power
that
to
there is absolutely no way in hell I'm going to come mess with you and try to take your apples because it ain't worth it. Because if those guys show up, I'm in big trouble.
Right.
So that's what he's talking about. He's talking about preventing it, Yeah, do we establish the Leviathan? So Hobbes makes an interesting point also in chapter 13.
There's a lot in chapter 13 in those 3 pages.
Yeah, you can just read chapter 13.
Done and done.
You can just read 3 pages on Leviathan.
Because it's a lot longer than 3 pages.
Yeah, that book's that's a commitment.
You could hit somebody over the head and take their apples with a book like that.
You could, yes, you could very easily. He makes an interesting comment, Hobbes. He says, when you go to bed at night, you lock your doors. Is this a reflection of your philosophy of humanity? Is someone going to try and break in and take whatever? Probably not. Probably not. But yet you lock your doors.
Yeah.
Everybody does. When you go to bed,
Yeah.
you shut it down. You lock all the doors. Why? Probably no one's probably going to come in.
It's just psychological security. Or
it's just like you sleep better knowing the door's locked.
You're not really scared that somebody's going to come in the house. Like, that's not a preoccupation so much. It's just kind of a reflex, right? It's you just sleep a little better.
You just sleep a little better knowing the front door's locked.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think humans are inherently violent or, malicious or whatever, that they're going to come in and take my stuff while I'm sleeping. Because they're probably not. I mean, it does happen, but it's pretty rare.
I think... I was thinking as you were talking about this, Peter Kropotkin, the Russian naturalist.
Oh, yeah.
Who wrote a very interesting book in the 19th century called Mutual Aid. And he begins the book...
a good one.
Yeah, he begins the book talking about how different species of mammals cooperate with each other to survive, that it favors survival, cooperation, mutual aid, all kinds of things. And we see it like even sometimes across species. But he begins the book talking about how that's the case for a lot of groups of animals, but that this also extends to humans. That there's this idea about like Darwin talking about the survival of the fittest and this kind of, physical and cultural Darwinism and stuff that got picked up in the 19th century and later and under fascism, and it gets very dangerous and all of that, right? So. But what Kropotkin is saying is like, yeah, that can happen, but there is also this very large portion of human behavior that's been recorded that is that tells us a lot about how people help each other, and that's an internal sort of impulse. Animals do it. We do it. We're animals. We do the same thing.
There's altruism all over the animal kingdom.
Exactly. And
I mean, you find it in weird places.
What do you mean?
Like bats.
Yeah, right.
It's just strange. It's like, what? But they do. It's all over the place.
Yeah. And so, he... and I think in the larger work I was reading in was talking about how everybody's like, it's survival of the fittest and everything's a competition and may the best person win and may the strongest and cruelest person win and stuff. And that also paints a kind of a picture of how we are supposed to be, what our nature is supposed to be. But Darwin talked a lot about cooperation too, I understand. And
he did talk about cooperation.
But that's the part that gets excised out of the narrative.
No, we're just told that the strong will survive and all this BS.
Right, exactly.
And actually, the survival of the fittest nonsense, which we're pounded over the head with.
Yeah, constantly.
He didn't even say that.
Going back to what you were saying earlier about how quoting authors who never actually said things or meant things.
Yeah, we can put Darwin on the list.
In that list.
He didn't even say that.
Yeah.
And even if he did, he came across, he was presented with that saying, and he felt it had merit. But he didn't mean like this chest beating, alpha male will survive.
Yeah, right.
That's not what natural selection is. Natural selection is you have, a list of traits
Favorite survival.
that are in sync with your environment.
Yeah.
And then you're able to hand on your genetic material.
The stuff that succeeds.
And a really funny example, not funny, but funny and peculiar example he presents in The Origin of Species is he's talking about, in one passage, one section of the book, there are these beetle bugs that live on the beach, and they walk, they don't fly. But they used to fly. It's like there were beetle bugs that didn't fly, and there were beetle bugs, this particular species of beetle bug, that did fly. The ones that flew, the breeze would blow them, and they'd blow them into the drink.
Oh.
And they weren't able,
good swimmers, let me guess.
They were not good swimmers, and they weren't able to hand on their genetic material. So it was better off that you couldn't fly, and the beetle bugs that were walking around on the sand, they thrived.
So the ones with the crappy withered wings that didn't work very well, they seem to make out a little better than the others.
Yeah. The ones walking around on the sand, they were like, swimmers. Okay, they were more genetically successful, and the ones that flew, right into the ocean.
Right.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and there's a million examples like that.
Oh God, read The Origin of Species. There's just one example
and
after
likewise,
another.
Kropotkin talks about a whole list of species that exist really well because of this aid that they render each other.
Yeah,
it's not about
It's
not about the one squirrel throwing the other squirrel out of the tree. It's it's actually more communal and cooperative.
You see, I'm repeating myself, but you see that all over the animal kingdom. You see, especially with mammals. Reptiles and amphibians don't seem to care as much.
It's more of a quality of mammalian.
But it's mammalian, yeah. Mice
Evolution.
are cooperative. Squirrels are cooperative. Rabbits, they're communal. They work together, and I'm not saying that the rabbits are smart enough that they cooperate and do a project, but I mean, they're clued into one another. Mice, wolves are very smart, and they cooperate.
Crows,
coyotes, crows are crazy smart.
They're like one of the smartest species.
They're crazy smart.
Yeah.
Octopus isn't a mammal, but
it's pretty smart though.
But they're very smart. One thing I ask my students, I say, who's got a dog at home? Okay, a bunch of hands go up. I said, okay, out of the people who have dogs here, have you ever had a really bad day? You broke up with your boyfriend, somebody died, and you're sitting on the couch and you are an absolute mess.
Right at the bottom, yeah.
And your dog comes and checks you out because your dog knows something's wrong. Show of hands, all the same hands go back up. They've all had that experience.
Sure. The dog can read your facial expressions, your tone of voice.
I'm like, as far as that dog is concerned, you're part of its pack. And if there's something wrong with you, it threatens the pack.
That's right. Yeah.
So the dog is going to come and check you out because the dog is pre-wired or wired or whatever you want to say, whatever imagery you want to use. The dog is concerned about the security and the safety of the pack. And if things for you have gone sideways, that threatens his safety.
It might threaten the integrity of the
in the brain of the
group.
In the brain of the dog,
even if the group is just two. Right?
That might be a threat.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
Right. He might not get his kibble.
So the dog's gonna come and check you out.
Right.
You know, and it makes perfect sense. But that is how smart the dog is. That speaks to their intelligence, and it speaks to this cooperation that you're talking about with Kropotkin.
Yeah.
It's astounding.
I think it's when we talk about human nature, it's nice to talk about. It was just really pleasant and nice to think of ourselves in this way as cooperative and nice and stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when we have enough to eat and we have a lot of confidence in our neighbors and we're feeling good and stuff like that, and we hold doors for people all day and take time for people and all of that. What I think is interesting also, and I think we would need to include all of this, is what happens when there's not enough to eat. What happens when we don't have a lot of confidence in each other anymore because we've become atomized or distrustful. What happens and what do we do with, squirrels don't torture each other gratuitously even when there's scarcity, right? We seem to have a capacity and a propensity to be altruistic, to help each other. But when things get tight, when things get difficult, human beings take a bit of a turn. What do we do with that? I think when people think of that, I mean, if we just pull out a little bit and look at the whole picture of the scope of human beings, we seem to be capable of just about everything you can imagine.
The spectrum's pretty broad.
What happens with the mutual aid and the altruism in that case? What does it disqualify this other stuff, or is there a way that we proportion one out and we can quantify one against the other and say, well, we're sometimes like this and sometimes like that, or we're mostly like this or we're mostly like that? What would you say to?
I think there are plenty of examples that, and yes. Things can get so bad that people will turn nasty. Mm-hmm. I think that's at the extreme end of the spectrum, and I think that's the exception. Mm. There are so many examples of scarcity and people being hard up against it, and circumstances just go to hell where people cooperate and lend a helping hand and look out for one another. And I've read that Rucker Bregman, Humankind book.
Yeah. A hopeful history or something. I think
he talks about the history of warfare, modern warfare. Mm-hmm. These guys are shooting in the trees.
Yeah, right.
Now that's a war. That's pretty bad. Mm-hmm. That's roughly as bad as it gets. Mm-hmm. And the soldiers didn't want to shoot other human beings, so they just, how many bullets went through the trees in World War II or whatever? They just emptying their magazine into the trees because they didn't want to shoot other human beings. That's an astounding commentary on humanity.
I think so too, and I think when speaking of Bregman's book, I don't know if he mentions this particular incident or not, but about 4 or 5 months into the Second World War, the First World War. First World War starts in August of 1914. Mm-hmm. By December, the war hadn't been going on very long, just a handful of months. But ordinary soldiers called a truce on the Western Front. And I think people forget that, They just said, this isn't working out real well here, everybody. We're not, it's cold, we're in these trenches, this is, And the German side actually initiated, they started singing Silent Night, and they got these little tiny Christmas trees.
This was during Christmas.
The famous Christmas truce.
Christmas
and they put the lighted trees on the side of their trenches. They were standing on the fireboxes.
This is after weeks of bombing mud, mind you.
This is weeks after bombing mud, and there's all this churned up no man's land between the two lines.
They were lobbing their howitzers into nothing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
They were literally bombing mud.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so so they were singing Silent Night in German. Of course, the British could recognize the tune, and it was the same tune.
Yeah,
it was
right,
written by a monk in Austria after the Napoleonic invasions, and it was translated in English. And they sang back, and anyway, they put their guns down, and they played soccer, and they, all of this, and it was 100,000 people, and it only lasted a couple of days. But that was not approved by the higher ups. This was done completely organically by the rank and file soldiers. It was bottom up.
Yeah.
That never happened again, because I think because there was still almost 4 more years of this conflict left, and it just got brutal, and it was a slog, and it was terrible, and millions of people were killed, and it had started to, I think, turn people against each other because of that brutality. But the initial inclination was, what are we doing here? This is not the way they sold this to us, and they keep sending wave after wave of us into this maw.
Yeah.
And we're seeing people getting mowed down and stuff, but people still had this sense of humanity and this sense of we're in this horrible situation together. Let's take a break, and they did. But if that had stayed, if 200 or 300 or 400,000 people just said, yeah, we're not doing this, it would have been over. It would have been over. That war would have lasted 5 months, not 4 years. And it would have been it.
Bregman talks about how power at the top got wise to people shooting into the trees and bombing mud and stuff like that. And it started a change around Vietnam.
What do you mean? What changed?
Like they got wise to this, and they put the heat on the GIs to actually shoot their enemy.
I see.
And not, shoot off into the trees. They ideologically, they kind of drove it into their heads because they knew, they got wise to this, that people don't want to kill other human beings. And if anyone, I've said this for a long time, if anyone knows human nature, it's power. Yeah,
they know it very well. Yeah.
Power knows human nature.
Yeah, and they also have a very dim view of it, because human nature, their view of human nature is a reflection of themselves, which Bregman makes a very interesting point about.
I mean, if you look at, and you know this history far better than I do, but if you look at, the history of the Soviet Union, specifically Stalin, Nazi history, they knew. They knew how to corral people and how to, what they'd be sensitive to, and they knew the pressure points.
Primo Levi said that it doesn't matter what kind of government it is. It could be a fascist dictatorship. It could be this sort of pseudo-communist government like under the Soviet Union. Power is, at root, afraid of its population.
Yes.
They have to be very careful.
Absolutely, yes.
They have to be very careful. They do not always feel...
And that's always.
Yeah. There's not this sense of invincibility. Like, we can do whatever we want.
This goes back to the Roman Empire. This is universal.
Yeah.
Power is always scared shitless of the population.
Right, and you wouldn't think that from the outside, because there's this. They want to communicate this idea of invincibility.
Yes.
And inevitability. And inevitability is important too in this, because it's like, well, we're this train that cannot stop. We are so mighty and powerful, we cannot be stopped. And a lot of that's ad copy. A lot of that's not true. Behind closed doors, they spend a lot of time thinking about how things are received, whether people will tolerate it or not. They push things to see how far they can go. Hitler did that all the way through the 1930s. He pushed things and pushed things and pushed things to see what the population would accept and what it wouldn't accept.
Power knows where the red line is.
Well, they're told where the red line is. The population tells them where the red line is, which tells us something interesting about populations. It tells us a lot that populations are maybe not always cowed and intimidated, and maybe that they are acting from something within themselves that is the opposite of what power wants. That maybe they will be their brother's keeper, so to speak. Maybe they will not tolerate their neighbors getting hauled off at 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe they will. There's a really funny story about when the first Nuremberg laws started. not long after Hitler was installed. Actually, he was never. The majority of the population did not vote for him, and I think that's an important point in our conversation.
That's a good one.
I mean, in 1928, I think they got like 3.8% of the vote. You know, as the economy got worse, it went up, but Hitler never got more than over 55% of the popular vote, which is an interesting point in itself. He was installed by people in power. But anyway, getting back to the story, so the Nuremberg laws started, so they started, the Nazi government was boycotting Jewish stores. And in the very beginning, they were putting SA men in front of Jewish stores to keep Germans from coming in. And this little old lady liked this Jewish bakery. This was in, I can't remember, Munich or something. And the SA man says, you can't go in there, we're boycotting. And she said, but I like their cakes. She's a little lady, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, this you shouldn't be patronizing this store. And she made some snide remark about how, well, if buying a cake from them means the end of Western civilization, I'm just going to take my chances. And she basically said, get out of my way, sonny, you know?
Yeah.
And so people were thumbing their nose at this stuff pretty early, you know? But the more they cracked down on things and the more, because power then had the power of social reward and punishment. And they got more and more draconian over time, pushed it. And pretty soon people stopped making funny remarks to people in front of stores.
I'm good.
Okay.
Just an adjustment.
So, but there were a lot of stories like that. People were just being sort of irreverent and not listening and not obeying it and not taking it seriously, you know?
I remind my students, probably regularly, that power will only do what it can get away with.
Yeah.
Coupled with the fact that, again, I think power has a very interesting read into human nature.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
I was astonished when I did my studies of the Federalist Papers all those years ago. Mm-hmm. And I was reading, in particular, Federalist 10, written by James Madison. And do I have that right? Is it James Madison who did 10? I think he did.
I don't know. You know better than
if I botched it, I'll put it in the errata. He says it. That they're going to minimize. Basically, he says they're going to minimize democracy. The population's not going to like it because we have to do this to to preserve, class interests. Because the population, they want equality. They got funny notions about how things should be run, but those funny notions work at cross purposes with our class interests. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, Aristotle said this, for Christ's sake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this isn't new.
This is not new. It didn't start with James Madison.
Right.
Aristotle said this. Aristotle says in the Politics, he says, the weak want equality and liberty and these kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Power's got no interest in those things. Mm-hmm. De Tocqueville talks about this, years later. Mm-hmm. But Aristotle?
Yeah.
James Madison? De Tocqueville? In that order? These ain't new concepts. These are not new observations. Mm-hmm. Power knows that the population wants things like equality and liberty and,
fair treatment.
Fair treatment and, they want to work. Mm-hmm. They want to get paid something.
Right.
For that work, something reasonable. Mm-hmm. Power knows those things. Mm-hmm. And there's James Madison in the 10th Federalist paper saying,
he says something like we have to protect the opulence of the minority from the will of the majority or something like that.
Yeah, we need to mitigate against what they want.
Yeah.
Because what they want ain't good for us.
Right.
I'm like, good Christ. Look,
Mm-hmm.
He says it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there
Yeah.
in the 10th Federalist,
Yeah.
which is also not very long.
In the planning papers of the country, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, this is how we want to construct things.
This is how we want to construct things.
Yeah.
We're looking out for us.
Right.
Which is why the American Revolution really wasn't a revolution. I've noticed this in my historical travels, that a lot of times things that get labeled as revolutions weren't.
Right, like the Bolshevik Revolution.
Like the Bolshevik Revolution.
Which wasn't exactly a revolution.
Chomsky says it was a coup.
It was a coup that was pulled off, and they were really hanging on by their fingernails for a long time, because there was a whole civil war after that. You know, it was a pretty dicey situation. The conclusion was not known in advance. You know,
it was just a cadre of intellectuals that overthrew the Tsar.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a revolution.
And very smartly said we have to get out of the war because the entire country was sick of it, and the provisional government was still wanting to fight the war,
yes.
which the country had just had enough of, because they were tired of being thrown into slaughter by people who were at the top, because they didn't want to kill each other and themselves. You know, I mean, and this came up again in the second. We talked about this with the Bregman book, but during the Battle of Stalingrad, they were sending Russian soldiers in to fight the Germans on the Volga, trying to take the city back, and they didn't want to do. A lot of them didn't want to do it. They didn't have the right equipment. They weren't kitted out properly. Getting shot at's really scary. Killing other people is unpleasant. But so they had to have NKVD troops in the rear shooting at them so they would keep moving forward. They had to do it by coercion. They had to kill their own people to scare enough of them to keep doing it. And finally they had to stop it because it wasn't working. That coercion wasn't working. And one of the people who spearheaded stopping that was a guy named Nikita Khrushchev, a name he was a commissar back in 1943, but he later became premier of the Soviet Union some years later. But he said,
yes.
This isn't working. we can't do this at gunpoint, and people are getting. We might have a mutiny on our hands.
It was Khrushchev, then it was Brezhnev.
Brezhnev, yeah, he was after, yeah.
Brezhnev, okay. Yeah, I'm just getting my timeline straight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was in charge for a long time after that, 20 years, I think, or so. But I mean, and also power, I mean, you have to, like we talked about in the last episode on Orientalism, you have to put a patina of nice on this, too. You can't just say, we're going to do this because we want to.
No, you have to do it for. You got to dress it up.
You've got to dress it up as it being beneficial for the entire population.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to have these narratives of all boats will rise. This is good for everybody. What's good for General Motors is good for the United States, for the population.
Oh, dear.
Trickle down theories, all of this stuff. Right. You have to dress up massive inequality and power differences and just ignoring the will of the population as a way that everybody's going to win. And it also has to be couched as like, this is just common sense. It goes without saying, it's just common sense that all boats will rise if Jeff Bezos makes another $3 billion this week. It's absolutely.
But this speaks to they understand human nature because they're trying to pacify the population.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's what they're doing.
Yeah, they have to pacify the population.
So
and they don't trust the population.
So we're spreading democracy, and these are wonderful things.
Right,
and
yeah.
Even though people are coming home in body bags, and suicide rates for veterans are out through the roof.
Right. Or we have to colonize this place because we're trying to lift people up and teach them how to be free. And
yeah, we're always doing wonderful things.
The world is not such a wonderful place. I mean, the results aren't very impressive, as far as I can see. I don't know if you read the paper today, but it's not going real well,
Did you get that article I sent you, by the way?
I did, yeah, I did. It was interesting.
The phone call to Netanyahu?
Yeah.
Wow. He really let him have it.
Yeah. Well, he's putting him in a position that's he was talked
into. I'm referencing an article I sent to Michael, the current occupant of the White House, on the phone with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It's an expletive-laden. He just let him have it on the phone, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. He's not in a the Trump administration is not in a good position vis-a-vis Iran these days.
And boy, they are not happy with the Israelis.
And the Israeli government talked them into it, didn't they? And they tried to talk previous governments into attacking Iran.
I think it was pushing on an open door, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I
think they saw an opportunity to.
I think it was an easy sell.
Yeah.
And the current president knows nothing about any of these things.
Mm-hmm. No, he doesn't. He's not very curious.
How many presidents have looked at Iran and said, nope?
That's a no-go. Yeah, I mean, these sorts of ideas have been pitched before, and they all said no, except for this one.
No, I was surprised because he spoke against adventures pretty early on. Getting into it. He said something. God, when Trump says something accurate, I'm just like, what? It just catches me off guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He said something that I might have said. I can't remember when he said it. It was maybe the first presidential run, the race. He was campaigning. Yeah, I think that was when he said it. It was during the campaign, prior to the first, his time in office. He said, "The world would be a better place if after 9/11, George W. Bush would have gone on vacation."
I couldn't agree more.
I was like, God damn, that's really good.
Yeah, right. That is very good.
How come he had to say that?
Yeah, right.
That was really good.
That's a very good line.
And it's absolutely accurate.
It is. And I'm happy to agree with that. Yeah, I'm absolutely happy.
When Trump said that, I was just like, my jaw dropped. Mm-hmm. I was like, what, did he just say that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now he's Mr. Adventure. We've invaded 7 countries. Or we've attacked 7 countries.
Yeah, exactly.
7's the total.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not... well, I think you made the comment, once they get in the Oval Office and behind the Resolute desk for a little while,
they get a taste for
Obama was
no different,
and drone strikes and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And if innocent people get killed, well, that's just you got to bust some eggs open to make an omelet.
Yeah,
and that's
just
the way
the cost
it goes.
of doing business.
It's the cost of doing business, exactly.
Yeah.
And on the very first day, they bombed that school in Minab in southern Iran, and all of those girls died. And yeah. I was thinking about, talking about power and sort of how it sees the world. It has to dress things up. But I think there's a projection that's going on, and it's something that Rutger Bregman talks about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it explains the treatment and the callousness that people in power mete out, either economically or militarily or something. And they seem to have a very dim view of most mortals, right? And what Bregman's point is that they see us the way they see themselves and each other. And I wanted to read something that I think is really...
No, go ahead.
This is right from his book, Humankind. So he says, "For the powerful, a hopeful view of human nature is downright threatening. It implies we're not selfish beasts that need to be reined in, restrained, and regulated. It implies we need a different kind of leadership." And then he quotes a little bit later Rebecca Solnit, the writer, in her book, You Are Popular.
Very popular.
I can't remember what book it was. Anyway, so he's quoting her directly, and she said that the elites need to control and manipulate the population, and when they feel that control slipping away, they lash out. And this is the quote. "Elite panic comes from powerful people who see all humanity in their own image." And this is Bregman again, kind of chiming in. He says, "Dictators and despots, governors and generals, they all too often resort to brute force to prevent scenarios that exist only in their own heads, on the assumption that the average Joe is ruled by self-interest just like them." So there's this kind of projection. Those who do a lot of the governing have a very dim view of us because they understand how they work in the world they work in. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of brutality. There's a lot of alpha male kind of behavior, and this is something that they project onto us. And so so for example, a concrete example is, we're going to reduce SNAP benefits, or we're going to reduce Medicare and Medicaid, or something like that. We're going to slash these programs because people cheat. Well, there's very little cheating in the system. Same thing with Social Security, comparatively speaking. There's
Like
very
elections.
little that coming from people who are constantly cheating on their taxes and offshoring money and all of this other stuff, they think that people with very few resources are up to the same capers they're up to. So the explanation is we're gonna pull back on these social help programs because it's filled with waste and fraud, and people are lying all the time and stuff like that, which there's really not a lot of evidence for that. There's very little. It does happen occasionally, but not much.
I think the people who cheat and lie the most have yachts.
Yeah, exactly.
And private jets.
Yeah.
They're the ones who lie and cheat.
I mean, the people who are offshoring and illegally hiding...
Not the woman who runs the cash register at Meijer.
Tax avoidance is anywhere... I've read different estimates. Tax avoidance among the 1% or one-tenth of 1% ranges anywhere from $160 to $175 billion a year. In tax evasion, that's just what they know about. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, that could pay for... I think SNAP is like 1.5% of the federal budget. What they hide, what they don't pay, could pay for SNAP and then SNAP again over and over again.
Yes.
I mean, so, but I really take Bregman's point and Solnit's point here is that they're projecting, basically.
I think there's a personal component to this story.
That people in power have.
No, I've noticed it just in people I know who are like not great people, or people I've bumped into, or people I've known, or in the past, or whatever. Unpleasant people tend to view other people in the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They take a very dim view of human beings generally. Yeah.
Like some pretty rubbish people I have crossed paths with. They think everyone's like them.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying.
That's what that's what they're saying.
Yeah, which explains their behavior.
Which I think is fascinating.
I think it's fascinating too. Yeah. It's an admission.
It's like, do all sociopaths think everyone's a sociopath?
Right, I think so. Yeah.
Like, I don't mean to be unfair to sociopaths, but I mean, you have to wonder after a while, like, how many crap people have you known over the decades, and they did look at everyone like they saw themselves in everybody.
Yeah, their accusations are kind of admissions, they're reveals. This is who I am. There does seem to be a pretty strong pattern. I mean, if politicians, very like high-end elite politicians in the U.S. Congress are accusing everybody left, right, and center of fraud and all kinds of terrible behavior, I mean, you wouldn't have to scratch their bank accounts very long to figure out that they're up to all kinds of stuff, that just dwarfs any kind of fraud that may be happening in some little bit here and there in social help programs.
I know this isn't related. It just popped into my head. But human beings are terrible at broadcasting their shortcomings and their insecurities. They just seem to advertise them. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
It's like the guy who acts tough. Mm-hmm. He's always trying to project this image of toughness. Mm-hmm. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Right.
The toughest people I've ever met in my life don't say a word. Or the person who wants to be perceived as smart. Mm-hmm. And they talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
The smartest people I've ever known in my life don't say a peep
About themselves being
smart.
Yeah.
For starters, they probably don't think they're very smart, even though they are. And two, they're just thinking about other stuff.
Yeah, it's not a preoccupation, right?
Smart people don't think about themselves being smart. Just like tough people don't think about themselves being tough.
My father made this observation along.
They advertise these things.
Yeah, no, exactly. My father made this observation a long time ago. He said that guys he knew who talked about their war record in Vietnam or the Second World War, Korea, and they were talking about all these heroic things they did. He's like, he's not a combat veteran. Nobody who was in those situations talks like that. And I was like, that's interesting, you know. And I had relatives who were combat veterans in the Second World War, and they never talked about it.
No.
And I asked my father about it, and he's like, see, I wouldn't even bring it up to them. Don't even ask unless they want to bring it up, because there's a lot of trauma there, you know. But the guy sitting on the bar stool who's talking about how he got a Congressional Medal of Honor and he saved 5 people when he was injured, it's just, can I swear? Is it all right?
Sure.
It's all bullshit.
It's bullshit.
It's just the stinkiest, muckiest bullshit.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And it's another, it just speaks to my point that, you know, well, I don't know if it was a point, but I mean, just an observation that, why do human beings do that?
I think they think that people are dumb. I think they think that people are easily deceived. And
if you're trying to convince people you're smart,
why would you talk about that? You know.
Well, here's the other side of that. They've already decided. And they probably don't think you're very smart.
But they're too polite to say it.
They just keep it to themselves.
Which is kind of smart.
It's smart. But I have known a number of people who do this. And I'm like, you realize you're not convincing anyone.
I think they might have to feel like they need to convince themselves. It's this force of repetition, you know, that they want to persuade themselves that they're X, Y, or Z, whatever it happens to be, you know. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to get into the mind of people who are trying to, I don't know, advertise.
Or the this is funny for me to bring up, but you know, the bald guy who wears a toupee.
Oh, and you can see it from across the street at the bus stop.
Everyone can see that's a toupee.
I'm like,
dude,
is there a mammal that died on your head? Like, what's going on with that?
Everyone can see that's fake hair.
So the thing that you don't want to draw attention to, everybody's now looking at.
Now everyone's staring at it. If you just shave your head, nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Or the 97-year-old lady who's had like God knows how many facelifts, and it really looks like she has, you know, and it's like, oh boy.
Yeah, you don't look young.
You're not 25.
You don't look young.
Can see that.
Everyone knows you're not 25 years old, and you sure as hell don't look like you're 25 years old.
It's really kind of that kind of stuff makes me sad, actually. Like that
is sad.
That need to spend that much time and effort and money and preoccupy yourself with stuff that badly backfires. I mean,
to sabotage the very thing you're insecure about.
Yeah, and to draw attention to it, the thing that you want to conceal.
Yeah, you get the plastic surgery. Now people just be like, "Oh, that old lady got plastic surgery."
Yeah, way too much of it.
But if you just let it just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Like the buzzed head, like I buzz my head, you know. Nobody cares.
Nobody's paying attention.
Nobody cares.
I really feel like people.
But if I bought a toupee, people would be like, Greg, what the hell, dude?
You sprouted a head of thick, wavy hair all of a sudden.
Like the German Chancellor Kohl, like I look like him now. Well, I'm like, you know, what? Like, why do you have that on your head? Like, I would look like an idiot.
You got like long flowing. You got like Rod Stewart hair all of a sudden. You know, like, Jesus, what? Oh, hello.
Who's that guy that Fabio?
Oh, Fabio.
Remember Fabio from the?
Yeah, we used to call him Fabulo. Oh, yeah.
It was like on the cover of like romance novels.
Yeah, right. those bodice rippers. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Like, is it Halloween?
Like,
What are you
I
wearing
would
this
look
for?
asinine. You know, but if
No,
you
you look good. You should
But if you
try
just
it.
buzz your head, you just like, nobody cares, you know?
Yeah,
Just
no.
like the old lady, just leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Or the person who wants to be smart, here's a nickel's worth of free advice. Just shut up.
Right.
You can start there.
Start there. Let people assume you are.
Just
you know?
shut up and quit talking about it.
Right.
And the tough guy, just stop.
Mm-hmm.
The chances of people thinking you're tough rise exponentially the minute you close your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
So just all these strategies to like address your insecurity, just don't do it.
Don't do that.
It's the
those
easiest
things.
thing in the
Yeah.
world. You
Yeah.
just don't do anything.
Right, right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
It reminds me like we're way off. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore, but
We're supposed to be talking about human nature.
we're talking about,
this
at
is
this
part
point we're
of-
supposed to be talking about dying.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
I think our topic is dying. We're
I think maybe we'll have to save death for another topic.
right.
But people say, you hear people say, "Oh, it's the least I could do." No, technically, the least you can do is nothing.
Yeah, that's the least.
And that's what the person who wants to be smart, that's what you should do. You should do the least.
Yeah, you should do the very least. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you should
It
do.
reminds me of you've heard me say this before, George Carlin quote. He said, you show me somebody who's just playing video games all day and pulling tubes,
yeah.
and they can't locate their socks, and they never leave the house, and I'll show you somebody who's not causing any
The
trouble.
guy who's smoking weed all day, in his recliner, watching nature films.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not causing any trouble.
He's not causing any trouble.
Is he a war criminal?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, right, exactly. The most motivated people are the most dangerous people. He's like, motivation's overrated.
That is a big misunderstanding that ambition is virtue.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
I've told my students for years, if you can be a Nazi and do that thing is not a virtue.
Yeah.
And you can be ambitious and be a Nazi at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ambition's not a virtue.
Adolf Eichmann was a very ambitious man.
A lot of the Nazi high command, a lot of the high command were ambitious, bright people.
They're ambitious, bright people who used to not be Nazis. They were also bright and ambitious and stuff
Yeah.
before then.
Yeah.
They happened to latch on to the vehicle that was in place at the time to get them to
Yes.
a better station in life as they understood it. And that was, the top leadership. They were. Some of them weren't real committed ideologues, necessarily. This was an opportunity for career advancement and financial reward and social status.
That's the way the wind was blowing.
The wind happened to be blowing in that direction,
and so they're like,
latched
okay,
onto it.
I'll put on the SS uniform, and they didn't care.
No, they didn't care at all. And interestingly, I guess maybe I'll bring this back to human nature a little bit.
I got it. It's my fault.
No, it's okay.
I got us off track.
It's okay.
I was talking about advertising. I'm talking about the guy with the toupee. So this is my fault. This one's on me.
I mean, that is part of human nature. It is an element of who we are.
It is related, yes.
It is related.
That is true. That is true. You make me feel a lot better.
Squirrels don't do this.
Squirrels don't.
We're still talking about human beings.
Squirrels don't get toupees.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't join the Nazi party.
And they don't become Nazis. Yeah, there's an extreme. There's an extreme.
So, so
polarity. That's
one thing I wanted to talk about in this conversation a little bit is this idea of evil, right? Which is supposed to also be part of our nature.
It's not a word I use very often.
I don't use it either because I don't think it's very useful.
It's a theological concept.
It's a theological concept, but it's become a politically expedient word that's pressed into service for things that I think are maybe not so savory, which is a polite way of saying it becomes a euphemism. It becomes a way to cover things. So we're talking about, Adolf Eichmann, for example, right? And as Hannah Arendt, the philosopher, she was reporting on his trial.
Yes.
In
Eichmann in Jerusalem.
Eichmann in Jerusalem. The banality of evil, I think, is the
banality
secondary
of
title.
evil.
It's a very famous expression.
That became very famous.
Yeah. And she's not saying that the deeds were evil, but the person himself was pretty ordinary. And so when we think of things of evil people, we think of this kind of mystical, theological, satanic sort of evil, right? And so I have my inquiry notebook.
Nice.
I'm just gonna.
Very handsome.
Very, very handsome. So I wanted to. Because we are on the topic of human nature, and this comes up, and so the question is, well, if we're good, if we're endowed with this kind of universal morality, how do you explain all this other stuff, right? And the answer, from what I can gather, I mean, my academic training is not in philosophy or social science; it's in literature, so in history. So that's the direction I'm coming from, but. Anyway, Hannah Arendt said that somebody like Eichmann was a person who was a careerist. He didn't think much about it, about what he was doing. He wanted to be good at it, and it didn't matter what it was, for social advancement and stuff like this. So he was not reflective. And so I was reading somebody else named Lars Svensson, who is a philosophy professor at the University of Bergen in Norway, and he kind of gives this typology of evil. And he talks about, it's really funny, he just kind of uses this like plain language. He says, there's a category called stupid evil. And stupid evil is that the agent of the act does not consider whether his actions are bad. There's an absence of reflection. There's a thoughtlessness. And there's no conversation. This is Arendt's point about Eichmann. There's no conversation with the self and the behavior. There's no reflection. There's no questioning.
I think there was a lot that describes a lot of Nazi officers.
It does, yeah, it does. That somehow you are colonized from yourself is kind of how she puts it. Yeah. So another example that Svensson doesn't give, but somebody else gave, and I can't remember who, is it a factory manager in the Soviet Union in the 1930s was accused of sabotage, working for the West and stuff like that. And he was brought to court, and he said, I wasn't aware that I was doing any sabotage. I mean, there were some factory accidents, but it's a big factory. I'm not working for the West. I don't understand where this is coming from. And they said, no, you did do it. The party says you did it. And he said, I guess I did then, Like, the person's so alienated from their own actual behaviors and existence that they buy into whatever is being told to them, and the cliche becomes their identity. Eichmann, likewise, said, I was just following moral precepts that were laid down to me by other people. He just thought in cliches. And he said there's a categorical imperative that if the state tells me to do something, therefore it's moral, it's good for the whole society, so I'm just carrying it out. And there was no interrogating of it, or that the philosophical sort of things that he was drawing from is just all crap. It was wrong, But there's no reflection. You're sort of colonized from yourself, and that is a pretty typical. We are both, I guess. The good and the bad. Evil is kind of a term that I think is not very helpful, because getting back to Svensson, he says that in this typology, he says evil is a goal in and of itself, what he calls demonic evil, which he said is really problematic because it kind of doesn't exist. There's like, I'm just going to do this evil thing because I want to do it for its own sake. So if we think of...
I think that's rare.
I think that's rare. But that's the way a lot of people think of it.
That kind of psychopathic...
It's really rare. And
that is so numerically...
It's pretty... Yeah, it's pretty limited.
Rare.
And we were talking about this the other night.
I think most people want to... couch what they're doing in a moral vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like the person who abuses their children, like violently. I'm just trying to toughen them up. Everyone's always doing something wonderful.
Yeah, it's for a good end, right? Or
War criminals talk like this.
Yeah,
Adolf
exactly.
Hitler, and they all talk like this.
Yeah, right.
They all use a moral vocabulary to describe pretty terrible things, but they want to put it. And I don't know if that's they think that or they're trying to sell everybody else.
It's hard to know. Yeah.
But they sure as hell do it.
Right.
But this I'm evil. I'm gonna go cause pain to that person. That I think that's the thin end of the wedge.
I think it is, and we were talking about this the other day. Out of the 20-something defendants at the Nuremberg trial, the principal defendants, and there were several trials, but the one that we all know about with Hermann Goering and Albert Speer and all of that.
Yeah.
There were 21 or 22, I think. Out of that group, they were all examined by psychiatrists. They were all given IQ tests. They all did the Rorschach test, which is still used, I understand.
So strange.
It is, but it seems to hold up. I guess I don't know why or how.
It's a bat. It's a bat.
Butterfly.
It's a bat.
Pterodactyl.
It's another bat. I don't understand.
It's a bat again. Yeah.
It's another bat. Yeah.
So they were all considered sort of high intelligence, ambitious, relatively normal people, with families and stuff. They weren't sadists. They didn't revel in any of this stuff, except for one or two. And the other defendants did not want to be associated with these other two. They didn't like associating with them in the years prior to the capitulation of Germany.
Yes.
They were completely outside of the realm of acceptable behavior, and they all knew that. So even Nazis had a hierarchy of I do not want to associate with this person.
I want to be lumped in with that guy.
I didn't want to ever go to dinner with him. I don't want to be lumped in with him. I'm not part of this.
And these are Nazi officers.
And these are Nazi officers who were collectively responsible for millions of deaths. Okay.
That guy. I don't talk to that guy.
I mean, think of where you are on the pecking order, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, those kinds of people, just evil for the sake of it, is pretty rare.
Yeah, I think so.
But it also has this sort of political utility. So if we think about it, because this is what people mean. So this was evil, this was an evil act and stuff like that. It means that the actor, but this is interesting because the actors themselves, if they are demonic, if it's this kind of, if in this typology that Svensson is talking about, if that were so common, then the people who perpetrate it can't be responsible because it's in their nature to be this way. How would they know right from wrong, right? It's in their nature. It's like I don't know whether a tree feels pain or I don't know whether a squirrel has deep thoughts because I'm not a tree or a squirrel. It's not part of my nature. But if Dracula is insensible to reason and pity and please, right? He just does what he does, Right. That's the kind of evil that they're talking about here. Is this a sort of vampiric, if that's the adjective?
It's vampiric. I just read Dracula, so I know that.
That's very impressive. Wow.
And that is how smart I am.
You're advertising your intelligence now, so this is problematic.
I just want the viewers to know.
Next, you're going to wear a toupee.
Just how smart I am. I'm going to get a toupee next.
Hair system.
I'll be smart and have hair.
And have a hair system. Yeah.
And have a hair system.
So in a way, then and this is something that people who were really close associates of Hitler, for example, were saying, well, after the war, they said, he was evil, he seduced me, he sort of, like a vampire, kind of seduces people into things. What that does is it exonerates that person from responsibility, but it also, interestingly, exonerates oneself from that, because I was seduced by an evil genius is like saying I wasn't responsible for my actions. So this is what I mean by it having a kind of a political utility. It's a way to get you yourself as a participant off the hook and also the original perpetrator of it.
You can't blame Dracula for what he does.
No, But that's just it. But like, so
You can't.
So associates of Hitler were saying this after the war in
Yeah.
interviews and stuff. And then they would later say, you know what, that can't be right because that means he's not responsible. Like some of them were reflecting on this.
I've heard people say like, "Oh, he's the devil incarnate. He was
he hypnotized
evil.
us, you know.
I'm like,
yeah.
First of all, you just let him off the hook.
Yep, absolutely.
Second of all, you just called a non-genius a genius.
Right.
I kind of hit hard on that. I come down on that. People have the History Channel and so on. They've mythologized that guy.
Yeah, because
He was not intellectually. He was unremarkable.
But he has to be superlative in some dark way because otherwise, and so do his lieutenants and all the people.
You got to turn him into Sauron from Lord of the Rings.
Because then you have created a distance between yourself and that person. You cannot be capable of those things yourself because the distance is so vast.
Yes.
He is so otherworldly, so sort of captivated or.
And that serves a very clear function.
Yes, it does. It's a distancing.
Yes.
It's a distancing. So if you were to ask someone, do you think you would ever be capable of doing X, Y, and Z? And people say, absolutely not. No, I can't. No, there's no way that I could do that. But not so fast, right? Under certain conditions, maybe it's possible. But people don't want to go there. Because that's why you have to say this is an evil genius who is possessed of demonic
They don't want to look in the mirror and see a potential, gas chamber attendant.
Right, exactly.
They don't want to see that.
Right.
Even though we're all capable of it.
Right. So who are the technical experts who are conducting drone warfare and killing whole entire wedding parties? I'm not saying that the intentions are the same or that it's the same historical context, but if you are in the business of excusing and exonerating yourself from this is pretty handy. Like, I'm not that. I'm not that. I'm this, I'm not that.
Yes.
Right? I'm not an evil genius. No, nobody seduced me into anything, there has to be this, it's too, if we admit that these are human beings who, for one reason or another, got a lot of other human beings to do unspeakable things, that's a little too close to home, We have to start questioning our own society and what we've done and political decisions that our leadership has made. I'm not saying that presidential administrations are the Nazi government. I'm not trying to say that. I'm saying that there are points of contact in terms of the body count is pretty awful, and the decisions that are made, and the vilification of other people. It's not that distant. It's within our nature. It's within our scope. Clearly, these aren't aberrant necessarily.
Yeah.
Most ordinary people wouldn't, do things, but like that. But under certain circumstances, who knows?
We have to allow for the possibility that under the right circumstances or the wrong circumstances, we would act like that.
Yeah.
Because humans are capable of anything.
Well, that's just it. Yeah.
We have to bear that in mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said before, I've studied literature. That's my academic training, and I've studied a lot of. I've got some examples here. Fyodor Dostoevsky, the great Russian novelist.
Can I see your War and Peace?
War and Peace? Yeah, that was a different author. This whole story.
No, I know. I just want people to see this. This is Michael's copy of War and Peace.
It's my working copy. Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything like that? How many times have you read War and Peace?
I don't know. A lot.
Come on, give me a number.
10 maybe? 12?
10 times? God, that was loud. How many times in Russian?
Maybe 1.5 times.
1.5 times in Russian? Mm-hmm. The rest were in English? Mm-hmm. Translation?
I read a lot faster in English, like way faster.
I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, me too, actually.
I don't even know why you're on this show.
Yeah.
Only 1.5 times in Russian?
Some sections more, but
folks, I apologize. I didn't.
Such a
What a disappointment. I just want people to see that. That's insane. So I've done show and tell here twice of my Mandalorian figure and your War and Peace.
Right. my pretty beat up copy of War and Peace.
How cool is that?
So Dostoevsky's idea is, in all of his characters, is that they're not one thing or another. He's trying to be psychologically
Nuanced.
accurate and nuanced and stuff, and that he doesn't have these characters in shining armor and these others who are just purely awful. Well, there are some.
I think Tolstoy's
ones,
more two-dimensional. I think Dostoevsky's got a more modulated.
Yeah, there's a kind of a
there's a depth to those characters.
Yeah,
you do get depth in A Karenina. I don't think you get so much depth in War and Peace.
Yeah, they're both really good.
Is that right? Would you agree with that?
The literary critic George Steiner said that. How did he put it? He said Dostoevsky was more vertical and Tolstoy was more vastly horizontal, which I really like that image.
That's interesting.
That Tolstoy's sweep over time and different kinds of human experience are more varied, but Dostoevsky kind of plumbs the depths of some pretty unsavory things. Although Tolstoy does that too, and so when we're talking about, and the reason why I wanted to bring these authors up is that they're really good students of human nature. I think they're really worth reading because of that.
Yes.
And he talks about how when people do terrible things, because we have this. And maybe this is something. Well, this is definitely something you could speak to more than I can. The particle of the dove in us, right?
David Hume. Yeah.
Which I would like you to speak on if you wanted to. Is that even people who do terrible things have that spark? It might be pretty smoldering and going out, but it never goes out entirely.
Adam Smith says
unless you're one of these demonic types that we were talking about.
Adam Smith talks about this. The first paragraph of the Theory of Moral Sentiments. That the worst ruffian, the most hardened violator of I'm quoting him. The most hardened violator of the laws of society has this sense of sympathy, this sense of compassion.
Yeah,
this particle.
There's a scene I wanted to read. I know I'm always bringing books to your podcast to read out loud.
That's
okay. There's a scene in War and Peace where one of the main characters, Pierre, is stuck in Moscow when Napoleon invades Russia. Well, he invaded a lot of places, but he eventually gets to Russia. He occupies Moscow. He starts burning it down. Fires are started, and there's all kinds of looting and stuff like that. And so this main character, who's a nobleman and very rich, gets caught, and he's captured by the French troops who have occupied Moscow, and they're being led off to execution. This scene in this novel is one of the most powerful things I've ever read, honestly. So and it speaks to this dove particle even when in the midst of doing terrible things. And I don't know whether Tolstoy read Hume. Maybe he did. I saw his library, actually. I was at Tolstoy's house. He invited me over for beers. And
is that the
Yasnaya Polyana.
Was it?
Yasnaya Polyana.
Polyana. Yeah.
Clear fields.
I got close. Yeah. Tolstoy's.
And I saw his library, but I didn't see any
you didn't see
Hume in there. Yeah, but they were kind of rushing us through the. I got to see his office and where he wrote War and Peace, where he wrote this giant book.
Yasnaya Polyana.
And so, let's see, where is it? Okay, so I'm just going to read this passage because I think it illustrates the point.
Yeah.
12 sharpshooters with muskets stepped out of the ranks with a firm, regular tread and halted 8 paces from the post. Pierre turned away, he's the character I was talking about, to avoid seeing what was going to happen. Suddenly, a cracking, rolling noise was heard, which seemed to him louder than the most terrific thunder, and he looked around. There was some smoke, and the Frenchmen were doing something near the pit, with pale faces and trembling hands. 2 more prisoners were led up. In the same way and with similar looks, these 2 glanced vainly at the onlookers, with only a silent appeal for protection in their eyes, evidently unable to understand or believe what was going to happen to them. They could not believe it, because they alone knew what their life meant to them, and so they neither understood nor believed that it would be taken from them. Again Pierre did not wish to look, and again turned away. But again the sound as a frightful explosion struck his ear, and at the same moment he saw smoke, blood, and the pale, scared faces of the Frenchmen, these are the executioners, who were again doing something by the post, their trembling hands impeding one another. Pierre breathed heavily, looking around as if asking what it meant. The same question was expressed in all the looks that met his. On the faces of all the Russians and the French soldiers and the officers, without exception, he read the same dismay, horror, and conflict that were in his own heart. But who, after all, is doing this? They are all suffering as I am. Who then is it? Who? Flashed for an instant through his mind. So those are the executioners. They don't like it.
That's not. Yeah, they don't like it.
I mean, it's
That's
really
nice.
very powerful, you know. And
I gotta reread. God damn.
Tolstoy was in the
You're
military.
gonna get me to reread that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely you got some tall reading on your list here. So maybe later, at the end of the summer.
Into the summer.
And
I will reread it. I gotta read Anna Karenina again.
that's a good one. Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like Anna. I probably like Anna Karenina better than War and
I was
Peace.
gonna say I think it's a little bit more nuanced and stuff.
Yes,
You know.
I think so.
Although obviously he makes some wonderful points in War and Peace.
Like I just told you, the second time I read War and Peace, I enjoyed it less. I don't know why.
You weren't too taken with the characters, I think, they seem kind of flat. Did you think?
Plus, he gets repetitive. He puts those essays in there, like he's talking about, war and
He goes on these asides
Napoleon
about,
and all this stuff.
Well, he's
And-
trying to dismantle the great man theory, like the
yeah,
single
yeah,
person
yes,
who's
yeah.
moving historical events. He's like, that's all crap. It's all confusion.
Yeah,
it's a
no,
mess. It doesn't work that way.
I appreciate what he's saying. I just, especially at the end, I'm like, dude, you're saying the same shit again. I just, and then some of the characters are kind of. I didn't like I was very charmed by Natasha. The first go, second read, I found her tiresome.
Yeah, I think she's a very nice, a very sweet, spoiled, rich kid.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
They're all elites, They're all like they're the top of the
But I do
society.
like Pierre.
I like Pierre too. Yeah, he's a nice guy.
I like
He's
Pierre.
got a good heart,
Yeah, and he undergoes an evolution.
He does, seriously, and he's actively searching. Unlike some,
Because he's kind of a jackass when you meet him, and then
he's a bit of a frat boy.
He's kind of a party boy.
poser.
Yeah.
He's a big party boy.
And then by the end of the novel, he's really become a man.
Yeah, he's grounded. He asks himself a lot of searching questions.
Yeah,
he asks
yeah.
himself why he does things, unlike some of these Nazi officials we were
He's
talking
with
about.
that group getting loaded, aren't they? With the bear.
Oh god, yeah, it's a great scene. Yeah, he
Like when they're hanging out the window and they're all blasted.
they've been drinking for hours, right? And I think it's a really good idea they basically mugged a policeman and tied him to a bear and threw him in the river. Or something. It was something like that. Like they tied a policeman to.
And there's something with a window.
bear.
They're hanging out the window, and there's a bottle of vodka involved. And
I don't know if it was alcohol of some kind, but they were like balancing on a window ledge, like 4 stories up, and drinking and trying to dare each other to
that's what he was involved in.
Yeah, just complete stupidity, frat boy tricks. And stuff.
It's too
was,
much.
Yeah, but no, he has this evolution. He's like, what. He comes into all this money and he marries this woman who's like gorgeous and the society like darling and all this other stuff, but she's like really vapid and he's bored with her and he gets pushed into the marriage.
It doesn't work out.
But he really, he asks like searching questions. He interrogates himself. He doesn't he doesn't live in this kind of world of cliches and stuff.
Yeah.
Which Tolstoy would say, and which Dostoevsky would both say, is a pretty good way to proceed, in life. Like he did the
same thing.
Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, they absolutely did. Yeah.
Tolstoy did not use his time wisely as a youth.
No, he didn't, and neither did Dostoevsky. And they both knew that if you're going to come to some kind of realization to kind of hit the highs later, you have to sort of hit the lows earlier in life.
That's William Blake. The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom.
Is that right? Everybody was on the same program. Yeah.
The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom.
That's nice.
The Doors, the rock band, they grabbed onto that.
Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah.
That's where they got. Well, they got the name from Aldous Huxley. The Doors of Perception, which is also from Blake.
Well, they ripped a lot of stuff off from.
I think that's from Blake as well. What about the hell am I talking about? Yeah, that is Blake. So maybe the road of access is the palace of wisdom that the Doors weren't involved with. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
I have no business running a podcast.
Not very smart.
Not very smart. not very. What the hell? Who is this joker? Why is he on a podcast? Who gave this guy a microphone and a camera?
Any blowhard can have a podcast, apparently.
Jesus
right?
Christ!
Yeah.
Michael, thank you again for coming.
Sure. Of course, my pleasure.
We're gonna do part 2 of this because we got a lot.
When we're talking about human nature, there's a lot of ground to cover.
There's a lot of ground to cover. I'm going to talk about the Dove particle.
Yeah, exactly.
David Hume.
Right.
And
there's some more Dostoevsky we can talk about too. Yeah.
So let's.
I didn't actually talk about him too much, but
let's do a part 2.
Talk about him. Okay.
You want to do a part 2?
I'd love to. Yeah.
We'll do a part 2.
Yeah.
And I'll get my.
We'll get our hair systems in place.
I'll get my door my Doors lore in order.
Yeah, you got to straighten out your.
God, that's embarrassing.
Your Doors lore.
I'm all over the place with the William Blake and the Doors. I was just thinking about Jim Morrison this morning.
What
Why was I thinking about that?
I don't remember. Where is he buried? In the
Père Lachaise in Paris.
Oh, in Paris. Oh,
yeah.
I've seen pictures of his tombstone.
He died in Paris.
Oh, okay.
He drew a bath, got into the bath. Adios, Jim.
And never came out.
Booze.
Oh.
Yeah. And a lot of it.
A lot of it, yeah.
Like, that dude was never going to see 30.
How old was he when he died?
27. He's in the 27 club.
Oh my God! There's so many poets and
Janis Joplin,
musicians.
Jimi Hendrix.
They never made it to. Jimi Hendrix didn't make it to 30.
27, dude.
Oh, 27.
27.
Oh, 27 club. Yeah. I see.
Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones, 27.
Whoa.
They're all. Kurt Cobain even.
Yeah, what's with 27?
27's got a weird.
Yeah.
It's got there's a weird thing with 27. Rock stars and. But specifically, rock stars dying. Yeah. So Jim Morrison was 27.
Do you think they look at the person before them and say, I want to cash out around then? Do you think there's an intention?
I don't know. Some of these people, like Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols, I don't know how old he was when he died. He was younger than 27. I don't know. He was 22. But I've seen interviews with Sid Vicious, and he was like, you can just bury me under the ground. Like, he was ready to, I mean, at 21, 22, however old he was, I don't remember. I'd have to look it up on the old Wikipedia. He was already talking about dying. And I've seen him in interviews. Like, gee, you can just bury me in the ground. I'm done, you know. He's basically done.
Yeah.
And then he overdosed on heroin.
Was it a suicide? Was it intentional?
I don't know. And then he also killed his girlfriend. But I don't know if that was intentional either. Might have just been a disagreement where there was a knife involved, and whoops. They were at the Chelsea Hotel in New York.
Oh. I've seen pictures of that hotel. It's very nice. It's very.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, I probably shouldn't use that word after that story.
It's not the Ritz-Carlton.
It's not the Ritz-Carlton?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's not.
All right. It's been all like made into it's a historic building now, and it's like
I don't know
I
what
think it's very pricey
I don't
to
know
live
what
there now.
shape it is in, but a lot of poets and like Patti Smith and all that.
There's a big arts community.
There was like a big
there.
like musicians and poets and stuff. They were living there, you know, because it was at the time it was cheap.
Yeah.
Because New York in the 70s.
No, I'm talking about now. Now it's ritzy.
No, now, but in the 70s it was.
Oh, it was pretty
not,
seedy. Yeah.
I think a lot of Manhattan was pretty seedy in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, a lot of cities weren't they?
Now it's a millionaire island,
Yeah,
but I mean, in 1970, in 1975, it was not.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of cities
It
weren't
was
doing
just
real
graffiti
well.
and broken glass,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah, it was bad news.
Yeah. Well, I remember downtown Chicago in the 70s was even into the 80s. Like it was pretty down on its luck.
That was the New York that Basquiat came up in, and it was not a glamorous place,
right?
By any means. All right, you're coming back.
All right,
that's for sure.
We've got a lot more to talk about.
That's for sure.
Okay.
All right, thanks for joining us on the Inquiry. Bye, Harms Army.